You've been saying you want to write a book since children were watching videos on VHS. And I hate that for you because it is now easier than ever to become a published author, and yet you're still committed to letting fear kick your butt like it's doing. Wow. If you're new here, my name is Katie Bennett. I'm a best-selling author, the founder of Lexicon Presents Publishing, and your host for Drafts Don't Count, because they don't. Either you're going to write it and publish it, or you're just going to waste your time. Anyway, I'm not here to kick folks while they're down. I'm also not a bully, so I'm not going to be harder on you than you need to be on yourself. But I am going to give you some hard-hitting facts so that we stop playing around and we take those ideas, we publish them, and then we profit from them. Last week, we just went over the vision and goals for this podcast, which is really just to get you comfortable with carving out times where you're intentional about your writing. It's going to start by carving out 10 minutes with me each week. And then once you're really serious about change, you're going to start carving out a little extra time after we've spent our 10 minutes together so that you can spend 10, 15, or 20 minutes writing and applying the information that you're getting today. Now, usually whenever I start working with a new client and we do a new client consultation, we go over the 5 fears that we briefly went over last week.
I'll remind you again in case you forgot. I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the resources, or I'm scared.
I usually like to identify that first because it does make it a lot easier when I know what's ruling the level of excuses that you're dealing with. But as someone who started off as a single mom and I had every reason to run through every excuse and then some, I want to start with the one thing that has made the difference for me through every step of this process. Identifying your real why is going to be the tool that you will have access to in your toolbox that will work every time you work it. And if you don't really have a strong why, that's probably why you haven't really done anything with your book up until this moment in time. You've just allowed it to be an idea that you know has the potential to either do something really amazing, or you might have had a vision. You might have seen it in your dreams. You might have experienced a little taste of what that looks like by some of the things that you're already doing. And so you have a general idea of like, I really should see this thing all the way through, or at least I should see how this goes. You already have a taste of that. But if you don't have a strong and solid, concrete why, then that is a lot of the reason why life is kicking our butts at the moment. And fear is winning these rounds of attempts to write this manuscript. And so this week, I really just want to challenge you to get a strong why. And I want you to take some time to give yourself permission to do a real why. Take yourself out of the equation for a second and allow yourself to think, if someone else saw this book to completion and then saw the right marketing strategy through, what is on the other end, not only for them, but for the world as a result of this story and testimony being out there? I want you to spend a few minutes thinking of what that would look like for the author and for the audience, and then allow that to be the focus of your why. So my why, when I started writing, because I didn't come into this with the idea of starting a publishing house. That was never my intention at all. I didn't even know how to write a book. Okay. So I definitely didn't have any intention of being a publisher, starting a publishing house. That was never my thing. My why was I was a single mom, and I didn't like that I didn't always have the energy to give my daughter the time and attention that she needed. I didn't like that I had to work so hard to provide a less than mediocre life for her and I. And as a result of that, she was dealing with an exhausted mom who didn't always have the funds and the resources to do the fun things that we want to do with our children. And to me, that at that moment was my why. And even though I had never seen, because you got to remember, this was a long time ago. So I had never seen anyone that I personally knew write a book, publish it, and then become successful from it. I had only ever been told there's no money to be made in publishing or in writing. Go get a real job. You know, those types of things happen to certain types of people. That's one of those fears too, that, you know, our story may not be as press worthy or as life changing as other works, because that's something for only a select group of people. And I had all of these things that were actual truths for me. I didn't know anybody around me who was a successful and published author, but I knew that as someone who didn't graduate college and already was having a hard time getting through doing everything that I need to do just to survive in life, going to commit to some long, and this isn't an attempt to change anyone's mind. This was me identifying my why at the time. But my why said, I don't have time to go to college and to wait and to play around. I just don't have that time. I need money and I need it right now. And so with that, that was my why. I knew that as someone who has this like natural hustler mentality, that if you get me the product, I'm gonna find me the people who's gonna buy it. And once I find the right audience and I find the right people, I know for a fact those people help me sell my product and make life easier for me. So I just said, I just got to get the product together. And I started writing Charge It to the Game. And in writing Charge It to the Game, it became very therapeutic and very healing and all of the things that I didn't really expect it to be at the time, honestly. And in it growing and in it expanding beyond something that I even thought of for myself, my why changed. Because once the book was done and it was completed, and I cried like a baby because I was like, oh my God, the work is done. Oh my gosh. And then I realized, because I didn't understand the publishing industry at the time, I had just written the manuscript, but I had to get all of the query letters and the everything every publisher wanted, even just to review my manuscript. I had to get that all together. Everyone is different. And then this was before, you know, everybody was always on the internet. So I had to print out this manuscript as a single mom, mind you. I had to print out this manuscript and just mail it off to different people, hoping that they would pick it up. And I was like, okay, I'm just waiting. My why has come to fruition. I have identified the fact that I need product, and I created a manuscript that I know with the right support, I was going to create a product that I was going to be able to sell. For an entire year, y'all, I waited. And what I waited for was a bunch of no's. And people just not even responding, or at least saying, thank you for trying, girl, but it's going to be a no for us. Nothing. Some people said nothing. And even with all of that, one person finally said, yes, we'll do it. But we need you to change some things, because she's Afro-Latina and she's like low key into the drug and streets, but then she has this whole activism side where she's wanting to bridge the relationships between Black, Brown, Caribbean, Afro-Latinos and unify us in a different kind of way. Yeah, girl, that sounds like it's a little too much for us. And we're going to need you to just choose. Dumb down the story, lose the activist side. That's how I processed it. They didn't say that, but that's how I processed it. They were like, lose all of that complex stuff and just give us the hood novella that we know we can sell, right? And so that's where I became at a crossroad, and my why had to change again. And I had to say, okay, well, my original why was to just get product. I can go in here and I can do what they asked me to do with her, which was make her either Latina or Black. As an Afro-Latina, that was like, bro, are you joking me? Like, people have been doing this my whole life. This is crazy. So I was like, I can either do that, or I can change my why, and I can let my why be the fact that there is an audience, because there are other people just like me who grew up. We never saw ourselves on Telemundo. We never saw ourselves on any of these other spaces that highlighted the complexities of having this rich Latin culture while also having skin that complements gold. Okay, we don't have too many of that. And so my why changed. And I'm like, yeah, I need product to sell to change my life for me and my daughter. But I also need my daughter, who's an Afro-Latina, to see herself in film and media, to see herself in books, to see herself and to not spend so much of her life trying to figure out there's my recording timer, to see where she tries to fit in, but to let her know that, baby, there's always going to be a lane for you, even if you have to be the one to create it. And that became my why. And with that why came Charge It to the Game, which became a series, which became, where I'm writing book 4 at the moment. And you guys have been on my neck about it, by the way. But now as we move into bringing this into film and putting this in a way that other people can relate and see the vision of what I had in my head first and what became something that then lived on paper and now lives on hopefully one of your favorite streaming platforms one day, that became my why. And my why had to expand with the vision and the goal and the purpose of taking this book idea that I had in my mind and making it real. And so your homework this week, if you do nothing else during our time or after our time together, is I want you to get honest with your why. Give yourself the freedom to, if you need to think about somebody else being the author and what their audience benefits and what that author benefits from, do that. But give yourself permission to dream big. And then once you've given yourself that permission to dream big, start to ask yourself, what are some immediate things? Let me not jump ahead. You know what? We're going to leave that for another day and another time. I just need you to identify your why and to get a why that is going to be something that moves and motivates you. If you have to see it as a version outside of yourself that you haven't become yet, and then accept the fact that I just have to go through some actionable steps to get there, we gonna get there. All I need you to do today is to identify your why and to get to writing.